masakadale ne katatta ne anka hissa amudir afarayontak gihilo salamata neksin tafainam dankali hangit iya barnaamij allenna koy ne katattana malay masakadaloksin arhibisnam
Any other interventions or comments, comments and questions for each of us, for any of us, for all of us? Who else wants to speak?
Yes, I have a question. Yes.
Please raise your hand.
Go ahead.
Ali, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank all the panelists who provide very excellent presentations, and of course a lot of questions have been raised concerning the ethnic federalism in Ethiopia, or the constitutions which have been in Ethiopia. But the thing is, my question is, first, my question goes to Professor Magnet. I would like to ask that some of the scholars, the Ethiopian scholars, they say that the source of our problems in Ethiopia is this ethnic federalism. They say, I mean, the constitution which have creates ethnically federated Ethiopia. And when they mention some reasons, for example, they say that it makes weak the Ethiopian nationalism, and it makes the nation or the nationalists only to concern about them or about, I think. So what is your response on this? I mean, how it makes the Ethiopian nationalism if the country leaded by such ethnic federalism? The second question, my question goes to Mr. Abdurrahman, and as we know, Ethiopia is the anchor state, and I mean, it's a great state, a great nation with about 110 million, and the political setup which created in Ethiopia influenced the region, and we Eritreans, in the near future, if there is any change, I mean political setup change in Ethiopia, then it will be immediately reflected in our country. And in Eritrea also, for example, our organization, Eritrea Upper National Congress, our political programs is that we want to have ethnically federated Eritrea, and need to exercise our political right in our region, Kalia. And some of our Eritrean colleagues, they say that this kind of political setup have been failed in Ethiopia. So why you raise such kind of political arrangement? And we say that it will be, maybe in Ethiopia it might be failed in some way. I mean, if there is no democratic basement, then ethnic federalism cannot be practiced or cannot be applied in the right way. So that might cause the problem there. But in Eritrea, in the future, if this regime have been fall, then we have 9 ethnic groups in Eritrea, and if everyone have their own political rights, and if they exercise the political rights, and if we can create the center, I mean, the constitution which can manage all these, then we can have a prosperous nation in the short time. So, how do you evaluate? How do you see that? For example, you have raised the lot of points from the Ethiopian constitutions, like the Article 9, Article 39, or something like that. So, but how it can be? How do you see that such kind of ethnic federalism can be applied, or can be implemented in Eritrea? What's your comment about your idea? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali Issa. Appreciate those two questions very much. The first one, I think, is for me on ethnic federalism, and to comment on the debate in the Ethiopian Academy and elsewhere about ethnic federalism as a concept and that sort of stuff. So let me answer you this way. Particularly from the Afar point of view. We met with Afar elders, Afar leaders, the Afar state president and his cabinet, and we discussed some of these things with reference to Eritrea. In other words, Eritrea has the opposite experience of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is constructed, as you point out, on an ethnic federal model. But Eritrea went the other way. Eritrea decided to take its nationalities, its 9 nationalities, and to try to smooth them all out into some homogenized general gray wash of sameness in a all-embracing Eritrean national identity, which is what you basically have been referring to here as the Ethiopian alternative. Now, the Afar leaders that we met with on occasions said that is not for them. They refuse that, they reject that, and they actually set out their will in a document that I've pulled up on my screen. I'll just read it to you. We now declare it's the solemn will of the Afar people to participate in the reformed Eritrea on the basis of these principles. And one of them is that each nationality shall exercise the rights of self-government and self-determination in a federated autonomous region. So the Afar reject that. Interestingly, we also had the author of the Eritrean Constitution as a guest in Ottawa, and he participated in a conference here, Barakat Habdi Selassie, and he was challenged on this. Well, why did you not consider security for the ethnicities in the Constitution? Why didn't you devolve power? And he said, well, we never really thought about that. We were sort of Marxists and all this sort of stuff. And he then was given a hard time by some of the FR. And he said, I apologize for that. We were wrong. If I were doing it again, I would have deep autonomy for the nations and nationalities. So on a practical level, that's my experience. Now, to me, I've also studied the literature on this for many, many, many years as a scholar. And I'll just say that everywhere in the world where nationalities demand this kind of autonomy, they get it. And where they don't, there is no peace. The only solution, not the best solution, but the only solution for deeply diverse polities like this, where the nations and nationalities are numerous, is deep autonomy, whether it's ethnic federalism or some other form of autonomy. Where there isn't, there is no peace. And so it's in everybody's interest. I am convinced as a scholar that this is the right model, deep autonomy for the nations and nationalities. I think that the Prosperity Party hasn't been exactly clear where it's going with this move away from ethnic federalism. If it's the creation of new political parties, it hasn't been particularly clear. But if it moves decisively away from it and tries to go the Eritrean model, it is buying itself, I'm convinced as a scholar, no end of problems, and it will never have peace.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Joe. That was a very good answer, very good overview, based on experience, based on your reading, your research. I know you've been researching it for years and giving considerable effort and thought to that answer you just shared with us. Okay.
Thank you, Warren. Yeah. For Hashim, the next one is for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Ali Issa, for the question. I have a little bit of reservation around the term ethnic federalism. If we take the Ethiopian case, it's more than 80 ethnic groups. So there are only 9, probably now about 10 or 11 regional status. Constitutionally, they should have their own autonomy. So there is a lot of like territorial arrangement. Otherwise, it would have been a different number of states within the Ethiopian case. In the case of Eritrea, I think we are repeating the same mistake that the Amhara did in Amhara rulers, that is in Ethiopia for the last 100 years. And that is to create Eritrea under a unitary system and in the image of the ruling party in terms of language and other aspects of culture and so on. So there's little room for negotiating or recognizing diversity within Eritrea beyond the folklore, dance, and music occasions. Beyond that, there isn't any entertainment of diversity. So we do have a serious problem there. But I do, as Abdurrahman, I do think a federal system of governance in Eritrea would be very much useful. It would allow autonomy, as Professor Magnet said. And in the case of our Eritrean Afars, in fact, that would fit very well with the territorial arrangement as well, because the Afar or Dankalia in Eritrea, it's almost like a homogeneous nation in terms of language and culture and ethnicity. So currently referred to as the Southern Red Sea. They may have some claims over Dahlak Islands or even over Massawa. That's not a problem at all. It can still be addressed. And I'm sure the people of Dahlak and Massawa, the indigenous people of those areas, including even the Northern Red Sea, they don't see themselves as aliens to the Afar. So there's always that interrelationship that can facilitate either way, whether to be under Afar or under the current Northern Red Sea region. Other parts of Eritrea, sometimes they're quite mixed, so they cannot really differentiate ethnicity with geographical boundaries. They're very much like mixed, and people also have coexisted in peace, and they also speak more than one language. So they do not necessarily want to become separated when it comes to federal administration. They can still run their affairs, their own regional affairs, or even it could be decentralized to the level of a village, and still accommodate the self-rule from the lowest district to the whole region, which is referred to as a Zoba in the current arrangement. So I currently do not see a problem with having a federal system of governance in Eritrea. It can easily fit into the heterogeneity of the society and the also self-rule that has been in existence. In my Uppsala presentation, in fact, I alluded to that. people have been running their own internal affairs, not only in the Afar region, but also in the highlands of Eritrea and the lowlands through their own customary laws. So there is that tradition and the history of self-rule, which can easily be constitutionalized and institutionalized to become part of the whole system. The problem we have is a completely a regime that does not believe in any kind of system. In fact, even you cannot classify it as a unitary system. It's almost like a one-man band that a president, he's everything. He's the head of everything in the government organs, the different organs, which now, in fact, they don't even exist altogether. So we just have to rely on what the president is going to do the next day or the next morning. So that's not really something we can consider as an option to look at or even to compare to any other system. Earlier, there was a mention by Warren, if I may just quickly say about Article 39. I definitely believe this is not a problem, but the issue of secession can always be exercised one way or the other. So the best way is to exercise it the legal way. But I personally also believe in the greater integration of the Horn of Africa, whether through confederation and even later on it can become a whole federal region of Horn of Africa. So we have to adapt, especially the ruling classes that have been ransacking the countries in the Horn of Africa should really accept now to change course and accept also to follow a system that accommodates all and not excludes anyone. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful.